Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi.
Okay. Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira from Munira's Musings. How are you, everybody? The Niche Navigator has a guest today. Different concept. There's a coach out there who is going to teach us something. But people live lives regularly, and we just need to find those people who are just living life. Our guest today is Bob Gonzalez, all the way from the panhandle of Florida. Welcome, Bob. Bob, how are you?
Hello, Munira. How are you?
I'm good. So Bob is a author, and he just wants people to have fun in life. And I think that's a very good concept because part of it is that most people forget how to have fun. So before we before we jump in, I just want to share with you that I am the Niche Navigator, and I bring these episodes to you partly because a lot of us forget to smell the roses along the way. What our guest Bob is going to teach us how to do that. So without further ado, Bob, welcome to Munira's Musings, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. I've always loved to fish up in Pennsylvania. Well, it's mostly in the ocean. And up in Pennsylvania, we used to do a lot of hunting, especially for white-tailed deer, which is the main outdoor activity there. I used to fish in freshwater there in lakes and rivers and things every once in a while. And during the summers, I would take a trip to New Jersey and we would catch bluefish in New Jersey off the coast. Then I moved to Florida in my 20s, and where I really started to fish a lot here in the ocean, in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Atlantic Ocean. I fished for about 15 to 20 years with a group of guys that we called ourselves the Twister Team. And we have stories. I had accumulation of stories that I wanted to get out. I thought people would really enjoy, so I decided to write a book about it called A Flicker in the Water. And here's what the front cover of the book looks like.
Is
So
that
on
a
that
fish
cover,
you really caught?
no, this is a fish from an aquarium. That's a Goliath grouper. The fish with the big mouth. That's the biggest grouper in the grouper family. Here, every once in a while, they do catch Goliath groupers. They're really prevalent down in South Florida, where the water's warmer than in North Florida. But they do catch them in North Florida too, as well. What we catch here in Northern Florida, though, mostly are gag groupers. They call them gag groupers. They're a lot smaller than the Goliath groupers. We catch snowy groupers, strawberry groupers, black groupers sometimes, but it's mostly gag groupers, copper bellies they call them. Sometimes you could catch a yellowfin, yellowtail grouper, but the prevalent grouper here is the gag grouper. They go about 70, 80 pounds, and they're fun to catch, and they really pull hard, and they're great to eat.
Okay, so you talked about fishes, but let me ask you this, right? You said you liked outdoors activities. You've always been there. You're born in the northeast part of the United States, and you like outdoors. Why is that important to people?
I think being outdoors helps people connect with nature, and which I don't know, whether people, whatever they believe in, but it helps you connect with your creator as well. Most people have a spirit of some kind, and I think being outdoors really helps people connect with that spirit. And it's very relaxing, it's soothing, and I think, man is made to be outdoors, to enjoy the nature.
And you think every so you came on my show because one I'm just going to ask you out there. You knew that this was a show about niches, and but you came on this show, one, do you want to show your book, and two, you want to share the stories that you've accumulated over the fishing. And I think this is a fishing book. It's about fishes and what you did and how it happened, and different episodes. I've read read a little bit about your excerpt on the books, and I thought it was a fun book because most people don't even think of writing their experiences down. So, why do you think that people, you said people are outdoorsy, they have to connect with nature, they have a spirit within themselves. All of that is good. But why? People are going to say, don't you have a wife?
Well, here along the Gulf Coast, the people's life is the ocean. They do work on the sea for a living. Many of them. That's what they do, and that's their life. And I want to tell you what attracted me to your program. In addition to the niche, was the sailor hat on Munira's Musings. I saw that sailor hat, and I thought, well, might be a good podcast.
It is
So,
because the sailor hat is, I am the navigator, right? So I have a compass and I have
yeah,
the sailor
yeah,
hat,
yeah,
and I just help people navigate the
mm,
seas of whatever they are working on. Because I
yeah,
think there's a lot of people out there who are trying to figure it out,
yeah.
especially now when we are being told we are in a recession, but we are
Hmm.
not. We are in a recession, but we are
Hmm.
not. And
Hmm.
there's that iffy, you know, either it is or it's not. But the reality is that people are feeling the pinch. There is
Yeah.
a lot of people out there who cannot make it on their daily salaries. They have to do
Mm.
something else. Now, what is it that if you're not fishing, when you are not fishing and when you are not outdoors, what is it that you do for a life? For life.
I have a small business where I make soft pretzels. In fact, we named the boat that we used to fish on. We named it after the pretzel business. We called it the Twister
So
because
how
we
long have
twist the
you had,
pretzels.
right? So how long
Yeah.
have you been in the pretzel business?
About 30 years.
Wow. So
Yeah.
30 years in the pretzel business. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say is that even if you have a daily job or you have a daily whatever, don't forget to have fun. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Pursue your passions. Do what you love, and you'll enjoy life a lot more that way.
So how did you jump into the pretzel business?
Well, back then, in the early 1990s, that concept was just being started, and in Pennsylvania, where I was from, was where it began. So at that time, the pretzel business, the soft pretzel business, was beginning to get into other states. So I knew somebody from Pennsylvania who was in Florida doing that business, and I met with him, and we started from there.
Okay. So businessman, fun man. What else? Are you a father? Do you have kids?
No, I
Family?
don't. The ocean is my child. My book is my child.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Sorry to impose, but so the question out there is, why do you love the ocean so much? I mean, isn't it a scary place?
It can be very scary. It can also be very soothing, and it's just a feeling that you get when you're out there that it's hard to that you can't get on land. It's the vastness of it. I think it's just it just, I don't know, it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel like watching a sunrise out on the ocean or sunset is I don't know. There's just something magical about it that you just can't get on land.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. I've done that a few times already, but I'm going to ask you, what is the most enjoyable? You talked about sunset, but something else. What is the most enjoyable thing that you have experienced out in the ocean?
The most
Thank you
enjoyable,
for listening
well,
to this
catching a lot of
episode of
fish
Munira's
is always
Musings with
fun.
your host,
Catching big
Munira
fish is
Zahabi. If you
the,
enjoyed our
the
show,
feeling that you
please
get
share
when you
and
have your
subscribe
bait
to
in the
this
water and
channel.
all of a
And for
sudden you
more
see your reel.
content, please join our Facebook group.
You get that shock that goes through your body. That's a great feeling. And then when you land the fish and you know that the mission is accomplished, it feels great.
What is the biggest fish you have?
I think we've caught a few blue marlins, about 400 or 500 pound blue marlins, and some swordfish about the same size. Yeah, in fact, the book that I wrote that for the title called "A Flicker in the Water" was about a yellowfin tuna that we battled for a couple of hours, and that one was several hundred pounds also.
So this is just not yourself; it's a joint venture
Oh
when
yeah,
you go out
this
fishing.
yeah, there's a team of guys. There's about six of us. We work as a team. In that sport, you have to work as a team. You can't do everything yourself. There's too much. But there was a team of us that used to fish all the time. The Twister team.
Got it. Okay, what is the most scariest that you've been out in the ocean? You talked about the great moments. Talk
Mhm.
about the scariest.
It can be very rough out there sometimes. Sometimes when the seas are very rough, sometimes you wonder if you're gonna get back to land because I talk about that in the book. There have been about 5 million shipwrecks in the world's oceans over time, and you never know when you might become one of them. I mean, it's very rare occurrence, especially these days, but it can happen to anyone.
Okay, okay. So putting your business, because this is more a show of business people trying to figure it out,
Hmm.
putting your business in perspective, what has the sea taught you? Can you give us
This,
a few points?
yeah, persistence, to persist, and because you don't always go out there and catch fish. Sometimes you go out there and come back empty-handed, but you have to keep trying, because if you fight through the pain and the frustration of not catching fish, eventually you will. And I think that lesson applies to life too. Not things are not always going to go your way, and if you persist and persist and persist, eventually you can reach your goals.
What's another one?
Um, Detail, to pay attention to details when you're fishing. You want to make sure that every detail is accounted for. You want to make sure that you have the hook set properly, the line to the right tightness. So when you do get the fish, you don't want to, anything that's in your control, you want to be done right. So you have your best chance of catching the fish. And the same, I think, holds true in everyday life. If you pay attention to the details and the small things, it will add up into big things.
Love it. I love the fact that you're putting it together. What is one more thing that you want to share with the people?
One more thing is just to enjoy yourself. If you enjoy what you're doing out on the ocean, try to find something on land that you can enjoy. And when you have your passion for something like that, good things will happen.
So, how did you start fishing? So let's go back to the beginning. When you said you came to, did you went to fishing, in New Jersey? I mean, what was the smallest fish you caught, or was it disappointing? I mean, tell us about that first experience.
Well, I think my first experiences were probably in a freshwater lake where I used to catch like sunnies and bluegills and things like that. They were maybe anywhere from a pound to 3 or 4 pounds. And I enjoyed that as a 5, 6 year old. That's a lot of fun. And then I would go to New Jersey and I would fish there in the ocean since I got a little older. I think I talk about this in the book too. I reeled in my first bluefish at age 11. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't want to, before that, I would always hand the rod off to somebody. And this time it was no way. I was going to hang on to that rod and either the fish or me was going to win. And luckily I was able
11
to
years
win.
old.
Yeah.
All right.
11.
Right. So at 11 years old, you were
Yeah.
you were determined to catch it.
Determined. Yeah. And it happened. Yeah. It was a great feeling. And one other lesson that I learned is don't let setbacks deter you. Like a lot of people I hear say, "Oh, I get seasick." Every time I've been seasick plenty of times, but it's never stopped me from going out. After a while, you get used to it, and you won't get seasick as much anymore, or maybe even at all. And some people it never affects at all. So don't let that seasickness affect you. It's just a passing phase, and if you look past that, you'll reap your rewards.
So, have you seen whales and dolphins?
Oh yeah. Oh, you've seen a lot of dolphins. We used to see dolphins all the time. Whales, not as much. I've seen a few, but you don't see them as often as you do the dolphins. Sometimes the dolphins will jump out of the water. They'll even swim up to your boat and look at your bait and everything. Yeah, we used to see a lot of them.
Wow. So you talked about detail and you said preparation and detail, right? So let me ask you, when you go
Thank you for
fishing,
listening to
do
this
you
episode of
have, is
Munira's
it just,
Musings
okay,
with
we are
your
going
host,
fishing today,
Munira
or do you
Zahabi.
plan it
If
out
you
and
enjoyed
say,
our
I'm going to
show,
go
please
fishing
share and
today,
subscribe to this
and
channel.
this is
And
what
for more
I'm intending
content,
to
please
catch,
join our
and this
Facebook
is
group.
what my hooks are. I mean, I believe if you are a fisherman of your caliber, you don't just have a rod, you have different material. And if you're catching 500-pound fish, then you have the cranes and stuff. I've seen that on movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a plan. We don't go out there every day expecting to catch a 500-pound fish. Most days that doesn't happen. But there is always a plan. You always have the spots you want to go to, or places where you think fish might be. But there's always a plan. And like I said, you have to pay attention to all the details, because when that fish does come, you want to make sure you're ready.
So good. And you bring this fish to eat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you stupid questions now, just things that are now running in my head. There is an abundance in the sea that people haven't ever seen any creatures. I mean, the sea is vast, very vast, and it's bigger
hmm
than land.
hmm
But there is more stuff in the sea compared to than on the land. So my question then is, do you ever feel that with everybody out there fishing every single day, with Japan being one of the world's highest fishing country, where there's a lot of seafood people out there, do you ever believe or feel that there's going to be sea is going to run out of fish?
Well, sometimes I do think that we do overfish. The sea is very vast, and fish lay eggs, and they hatch millions at a time. But sometimes I wonder, like when I go to the supermarket and I see those cans of tuna fish day after day after day, and I wonder, how can the ocean sustain this? But somehow, up to now, it has, and hopefully that won't change. There are some things I would like to see change different, though. That they have that practice of what they call finning, where they cut the shark's fins off for the fin soup, and that's overdone. Well, it's barbaric for one thing, and it's such a waste. I'd like to see that lessened a lot. But yeah, I've often wondered how the ocean can sustain the fish the way that it does. Here in the U.S., we have a lot of limits on the amount of fish we can catch, and I think that does help some.
So then you have to have a license like every other state in the United States.
Oh yeah, you need a fishing license to fish. Yeah. Yeah, they have different kinds of licenses. They have recreational licenses, they have commercial licenses, but yeah, you definitely need a license.
Okay. I mean, you're passionate about this. It shows, right?
Yeah.
So how much time, if you were to divide your time between your business, the pretzel business, or is that on autopilot where you have people working it and it's just the system that's working and then you just go have fun?
Oh
How much
no,
time do you dedicate?
I spend a lot of time there right now. I'm there pretty much most of the time in business now. With, like you said, things have changed. Things are different than they were 20 years ago. So it's people need to be a little, they have to find ways to make ends meet. So, I'm there along with my people.
No, that's good. That's good.
Um,
So going back to this thing, why fishing? Why not whitetail deer?
Well, it was something that I just love to do, and a lot of my friends here, they make their livings fishing. They catch their fish. They take people out, for one thing. They charter the boat, and they have paying customers that they take, and they also sell fish that they catch on the fish markets. Some of them catch commercial fish, and they tell them here to send them here to the local markets, and that's what they do for a living. Yeah.
So they are out there in the early in the morning, out there in the
Oh
sea.
yeah, yeah, every day. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that for generations here where I live in Florida, generations of families have sustained themselves by fishing. They live off the sea.
That is so
Mm.
amazing. It is just so wonderful that. I mean, I enjoy fish. There's certain fish I will not eat, some fish I will, but you know, when you go out there, what's the one thing that are you always what's the word I'm looking for? Are you always like positive about this? Today's going to be a good day. I'm going to go catch a fish.
Every day I go out, I think I'm going to break a world record.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
yeah, it doesn't happen, but you always think, at least me, I always try to think that way. Mm.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
What other advice can you give to our listeners?
Just if you love to fish or whatever you love to do, just go ahead and try to do it. After I was, not fishing as much, I decided to write this book because I love the stories and I love to write. So I combined the two together and I came up with the book, and I'll show it to you here again. And I love that cover of that Goliath grouper too.
Where can we find your book?
I have a website called flickerinthewater.com. It's also on Amazon. You can type in my name, Bob Gonzalez, with a Z, or a flicker in the water. Anywhere books are sold online, pretty much. But my website has access to all of it, and there's a lot of stuff on the website that's not in the book that I think people will find really interesting. So it's flickerinthewater.com is the website.
These are your experiences.
Most of them, yes.
So
Yeah,
what is the
there
go
are the
ahead.
stories in there about the history of the oceans and things. Yeah, I talk about Christopher Columbus in there a little bit, and Poseidon, the Greek mythical god of the sea, that kind of thing. But most of the stories are my own.
So okay, so you have another book that you
Yeah, I had a
you
book
you
of poems
wrote.
from a couple of years ago. Yeah, but I'm focused on this one right now. This is my love. I love this one.
And you're working on your third book.
Well, I'm collecting stories of. I want to do like a book of comedy, maybe, and maybe some poems about sports stories and that kind of thing. That's what I'm working on now.
So who are you collecting these stories from?
Well, just from events that happen on TV, like I talk about football and baseball and different things like that happen. That's as I write about them as they happen.
Okay, when is that going to be released?
It's probably be a couple of years away. I'm still just in the beginning stages. I'm collecting and gathering. It takes a long time to release a book if you want to do it right. I don't know how people can put out a book every 5 or 6 months. I don't think I could do that. It's for other. I think it takes a while longer if you want to get it right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you hear the passion in Bob's voice. The problem is not that you don't have passion. The problem is you have passion, but you don't know how to start. So, Bob, if people have the passion, but they don't know how to start, what sometimes sports are expensive, like fishing. What do you need to start? Like anything, you have to invest a little bit of money, right?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't have to be expensive. There are bridges and piers, and even off the beach they catch nice fish. Or they have a place here called the jetties, where it's rocks that go out into the ocean, and people fish there. All you need is a fishing rod and maybe a little piece of bait, and you could catch a lot of nice fish that way also.
So just start. But
Yeah.
some people will say, but I don't know what bait to buy and what rod to buy. And
Hmm. Yeah, well, you probably could go to a tackle shop, and a local tackle shop will tell you, what you would need to catch the kind of fish that are around that area. They'll know what time of day is the best baits to use, the best rods to use, and any local bait shop will be able to guide you in the right direction.
so there you go, folks. You do not have a reason not to enjoy life. Most people, like Bob's passion is fishing. I've never fished in my life, but I have seen fishing videos and fishing movies. But the thing is, what floats your boat? It's no pun intended, but the thing is, you have to understand where your passion lies. And maybe there's a way to merge your passion and put it together in a business. You don't know that. Or be like Bob, who has two different things going on different aspects on a different scale. One is a business in a mall, but one is a passion thing. But what I hear from Bob is that you do not want to lose that passion. I've
Mm,
seen so many people who have worked to the bone and just drop dead the next day because they never
mm,
thought, they thought life was eternity, and they thought, I'll do it after I retire. From what I'm hearing from Bob is, don't let that happen to you. Just enjoy your life and make sure that you are taking this at the first step, and just take it with a grain of salt and enjoy the life that you want to live. Any last words?
Oh, thank you for having me on, Munir. I really enjoyed it, and I hope your listeners and you will enjoy the book, A Flicker in the Water.
Flicker in the water. I like that. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. Until we meet you again next week with a new guest, a new episode with a new, niche, I guess. Then like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week.
Thank
Bye.
you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.